Ladies and gentlemen, today I'm joined by Natan Levy, UFC Lightweight, the only UFC fighter from Israel, fresh off his win at UFC Vegas 53. How's everything going today, man?
Doing great, feeling really good. Thank you.
You know, in this show, we like to sort of rewind because I don't want to just jump into where you are now. I kind of want to get to know you as a fighter, as a person a little bit, then get into where you are currently. So I got a question just to start off. So it says that if my information is correct, that at 5 years old, right, you were in France, right, where you were born. You and your family then decided to move to Israel, right, if I'm not mistaken, when you were younger. Was there anything that motivated that move for your family to move to another country when you were younger?
Just doing what's called the Aliyah. It's for Jewish people around the world to move to Israel, our homeland, to be safe from, people who try to hurt us to this day. So it's a good logical move. And yeah.
Yeah, so let me ask you, can you pinpoint an exact moment or an exact time or a person that made you want to become a mixed martial artist?
I think it was a lot of things. Because even just growing up, watching martial art movies, I always loved it. Watching Rocky movies made me want to be a boxer. Then I discovered, at an older age, that there's something called kickboxing, so I wanted to do that. And when I knew there was MMA, then I wanted to do that. But also in Israel, there was no MMA. Back in the time, internet wasn't that big. You couldn't find everything online. I was looking for a boxing gym or kickboxing gym, and I couldn't find one in the area where I live. So I went with traditional martial arts, which is also something that was very cool to me. But I was liking MMA. I was watching it, but I thought it wasn't what I was doing. I was doing karate. I was doing something different. But watching fighters like Lyoto Machida and GSP made me feel like maybe it's not what I'm doing, but maybe I can come from karate and do MMA. So I always had the bug and wanted to compete and wanted to do those martial arts and combat sports. But I think those fighters really made me think like, oh, maybe I can do this. Maybe this is maybe even though I've been doing karate all these years, maybe I can use it in the cage.
Where did your love from karate come from? Did you like that discipline among the rest specifically at an early age?
I think I like all disciplines have their charm for me. I wanted to do, I started doing Kung Fu and karate kind of same time with the same coach. And I just really liked everything about it, let alone the fighting, but also the tradition and the gi and all that stuff and the values. So it's all the martial arts had a charm to me, but this was the one I got started with and really grew up doing. So it has a special place for me.
Yeah, so one last question here about the karate before we transition to MMA. At 16, right, it says you trained in Okinawa, Japan for the first time, which is obviously the birthplace of karate. And it was obviously something from what I read that was special for you. Can you talk a little bit about what was so special in that time for you? What was so special about that trip?
I had two trips in that period of time. So first one, when I was 16, I went for a month.
Right.
And it was, complete magic, training in Japan with the masters, grandmasters. Being in Japan for the first time is incredible. It's an amazing country with amazing people. So I had a really great experience. Just had fun and learned a lot and improved and trained hard. The second time I came back a year later, and this time I was more like a uchideshi, which means somebody that's really under the wing of the master, not just like a tourist training, more, just something a little bit more serious. And it was actually very different. It was a lot of a harder time training was harder. There was a lot more expectations from me in the dojo in training and also outside of it. I was getting ready to test for black belt, so the training was very demanding. I was also young and I didn't know how to manage my budget, so I ran out of money pretty fast, and I was basically hungry. For a couple months there, I would buy some pasta or rice at the 100 yen store, which is basically $1. I would eat a few of those a day, and that's it. I was hungry a lot of the time. I lost a lot of weight. I trained very hard. I would bicycle to the gym for 20 miles because I didn't have money to take the bus. So it was a very hard time in my life, but also something that built me and made me who I am today. So I'm very thankful for this period of time.
That's incredible. So how different, was there anything different from karate there than like say the traditional karate school in say any other country?
Yes, it's completely different. In Israel we were doing karate and kung fu, but it was we were training, we were learning the moves. Of course, there was a little bit of discipline, but in Japan it's a different level. You gotta, do the customs, what you do as a play, like in other countries. You bow, you do certain things before class, after class. It's all kind of role play. But in Japan, it's the culture. It is what it is. And if you don't do it, not only not do it, but even if you do it but not right, you can get a wooden sword, hit with a wooden sword. You can get, punished or just kind of disciplined, or, it's a very harsh, stressful environment. You're always walking on the eggshells. You don't want to offend anybody. You don't want to do the wrong thing. So it's more than training. It's like the whole atmosphere is very hard, very harsh. But again, it builds you. It makes you a stronger and better man.
Well, yeah. At what point in time did you decide to transition to MMA? Is this something you always wanted to do?
When I was 22, I had already came back from Japan. I had my black belt. I was second or third degree already. And I was running a few gyms. I was very successful. But I was getting more and more into MMA, watching it at night. In Israel, the broadcast was at like 5 a.m. So we would stay up all night just to watch the fights. And it became more and more like a passion and something I had drive to do, especially watching the fighters, like I said, like Lyoto and GSP and those fighters of that era. And at some point I just said, that's what I want to do. So like when I wanted to be the best in karate, I flew to Japan to train with the grandmasters. I want to do MMA and I want to be the best there is. I'm leaving everything. I'm flying to Vegas. I want to train with learn from champions, train with champions, do it the right way, learn all the fundamentals from where the top of the game is, which is Vegas. I didn't want to start doing MMA in Israel and learn the watered down version of it to later fly to the US later and get my ass kicked. I prefer to get my ass kicked from the get-go, but learn it immediately like the sport really is.
Right. You start your MMA career, and is this a time when you're at Syndicate? When did you start at Syndicate MMA?
First time I came to Vegas 8 years ago.
So right away, right from the start?
Yep.
Okay, so you've been and how's your experience been at Syndicate?
Great, amazing. I love this gym.
Yeah. So if you look at your record, right, you look at all your fights, you have a lot of wins by submission, a lot of finishes by submission. And normally with the karate background, that might not be something you see so much, right? How have you been able to excel so much in the jiu-jitsu, in the submission department, in the grappling with the karate background? How have you been able to pick that up so easily?
It wasn't easily, but I knew when I came to Vegas, I knew my striking was not good enough for MMA, but I knew at least I had some striking. My ground was not ready to compete with white belts. So I knew I had to put a lot of my effort into jiu-jitsu, even before I started to wrestle. Because at first that was a lost battle, but at least I wanted to know what to do when I'm on the ground, and I would do 4 or 5 sessions a day of training, and at least 2 or 3 of them were grappling, were jiu-jitsu, and it wasn't easy at all, but I slowly started to pick it up, and I think I also had a little bit more of a natural talent for it, not crazy talent, but just a little bit more than even I had in karate and striking styles. I picked it up a little bit faster, and I was eager to learn it. For me, it wasn't, I need to learn jiu-jitsu to know what I do, to know how to get up. No, it was for me, I finally get to learn jiu-jitsu because it's an amazing art, and I want to know it and be as good as I can at it. So I'm going to put all the time that I can in it.
Right. So where was that moment in time? Because you were obviously you were undefeated, right? Going into leading into your UFC career. Was there a specific fight where you thought, okay, I'm ready to compete in the UFC now?
I think it's something, confidence is something that you need to build slowly. It doesn't come overnight. So I was, slowly getting the confidence. And at first, you win an amateur fight and everybody's like, oh, when are you getting to the UFC? You're like, hold your horses. I ain't going nowhere right now. I want to learn and keep learning the ground and the striking and MMA and get better and fight more amateur fights. But then you turn pro and start winning fights, and you train with pros, you train with UFC guys, and you see you're not any lesser than them in the gym on the mats. You understand that there's a difference in the cage, but still at some point you're like, okay, I think I'm good enough. I think I'm ready to swim in the deep end.
So we rewind November 10th, 2020, right? You get a big opportunity. Was it 1 day notice for the Dana White Contender Series fight? And I want to ask you, how did it feel going into that fight? Because was the UFC, I would imagine when you got into mixed martial arts, must have been a dream for you, right? So was there pressure on you mentally going into that fight? Like, okay, this is my moment now. I gotta make it count.
Yeah, there was a lot of pressure. A lot also of fear of failure, because, like you said, this was my moment. I had the confidence. I knew that, hey, even on 2 days' notice, I had 1 day to make the weight, and then 1 more day to think and get ready for the fight, which was basically just watch a little bit of tape and rest from the weight cut. So I knew it was a big opportunity that I had to grab, but also I knew it was a big risk because I'm not after a full camp. I'm fighting a weight class up against a big guy that's undefeated, very good grappler. So I knew there was a big risk. I had the confidence, and I knew that, hey, even if I mess this up, I can still 1 day get in the UFC, go out, get a couple wins, and fight my way to contenders again. But yeah, of course, there was a lot of pressure, and for me, it was the time to prove myself.
And it looked like you were supposed to make your UFC debut a couple times after that, right? Was there any injuries or anything along the way?
Yeah, I was supposed to make my debut, I think, April last year. I got hurt. And then by the time, I recovered and I got offered a fight and did the camp, it took a little bit longer than I wanted, but I fought in November. I'm not sure if ring rust plays a role. I don't really believe in it. I do believe that the more you're active, the more you can be sharp, but it's not an excuse. I love that fight, but it was very close. And I think even in that loss, I showed that I belong. I'm on that level. And the fight could have gone either way. And I was just waiting for my redemption. I was just waiting for the day that I can prove to everybody that I belong by winning. And I did that this Saturday, so it feels great.
Yeah, and that's what I was going to ask you next was, So your first fight, it obviously didn't go your way. You know, it was a really close fight. I think it could have gone either way looking at it myself. Was there any big takeaways from that fight? Anything you expected? Anything you didn't expect?
Um, Not anything I didn't expect. You know, I expected him to be. I was expecting to win, obviously, but I was expecting him to be a strong wrestler, a very tough and durable fighter. I think the biggest takeaway is just that I thought that I had to like step it up or something because it was in the UFC. I thought I had to fight differently. Maybe I had a little bit too much of it, like chip on the shoulder. I wanted to prove, I wanted to show, I wanted to get in there and knock him out. Um, and I think it made me not fight my fight, which I've been fighting for years, which is a smart fight, technical, cool, calm, collected. Um, and just I think I made a few small mistakes. I got a little bit overzealous. I wanted to finish him when I saw he was hurt. He wasn't that hurt, but I got a little bit too greedy, and that cost me some takedowns, which cost me the fight. But so I took that away from the fight. But you know, also I know once again that the fight was very close, and I wouldn't mind running it back one day.
I know on commentary, I think it was Daniel Cormier that said he saw like a headbutt or a clashing of heads in the third round. Is there any truth to that? Did that affect you at all? If it did happen?
I don't really remember if it happened. You don't really see those things in the fight. Sometimes you do, sometimes you don't. Um, but even if it did, I wasn't rocked or anything. You get hit a bunch of times in the fight. It wasn't something that made my head spin. I got hit a bunch of times. Maybe one of them was a headbutt. I don't really care. I outstruck him 2-1. But I got out grappled a little bit, and he got the win.
Do you feel that you won that fight? That you should have won that fight? Or did
I'll
you
tell
think
you
you won
what.
the fight at least?
I didn't think I won the fight. Like during the call, I knew that I probably lost it. There was like maybe 1% in me that believed that maybe in my mind I'm saying it wrong and maybe I did win it, but I was guessing that I didn't. It's just funny to me, like we had a judge come into syndicate a few days before the fight to talk to the fighters and tell us, kind of what they're looking for, what they're expecting, how do they score fights. And, the biggest takeaway was one that he said that every judge, does whatever he wants. Basically, everybody has their opinion. There's no basically they don't even follow the rule set themselves. He said in other words, because there is standards to how you win a round, and the biggest one is damage.
Yeah.
But he kind of said, I think this wins more than that. I think this is more likely to score for me than that. Which, okay, cool, whatever. But one of the biggest things he said is, hey, if I'm fighting and I'm have the option to either get beat up on the feet for 30 seconds or get held down on the mat for 4.5 minutes, I'd rather get held down. Which means, in other words, that damage, striking for him scores a lot more than just holding somebody down. Now, if you hold somebody down and beat their ass, it's a different story. But in my fight, a few days later, I was outstriking Rafa 2-1 in the numbers, and in the fourth, even greater than that. And I just got held down for half the round, and I would get up again and again, no damage at all, and I lost the round. So I believe that grappling has a big effect in fights. I knew that I could have, that I probably lost it because of the grappling. But when you have a judge a few days prior to that telling you that damage triumphs all, and that 30 minutes of striking should be worth more than 4.5 minutes of holding somebody down, then it's kind of weird. You really don't know how the hell you're supposed to win a fight on the scorecard.
Yeah, man, I hear you. I think the judging is something that's definitely been in question at the very least over the last few years in the
Yeah.
UFC. So let me ask you, what was different in your preparation, if any, for this fight, your last win, compared to that first fight that we just talked about? How was the preparation different?
Um, the preparation wasn't much different. We always work all the techniques, that there are that I like doing. Um, of course, we got a game plan. We train some techniques more because we think they could be, uh, worthwhile in the fight. But also some techniques you didn't plan on using and you end up using. So for me, for example, in this fight, I thought leg kicks are going to play a bigger role. But also, I didn't work only on leg kicks and jabbing because I knew the fight can go anywhere. So, of course, we worked the wrestling, we worked the spinning techniques, the straight left hands, the hooks, the uppercuts. Um, and the fight at the end of the day is chaos and anything can happen in there. So you just got to be ready for everything. So we train everything anyway.
Was there anything you took away from that fight? Did it go, aside from the leg kicks and what you just talked about, did it go somewhat as you expected?
Yeah, it really went as expected. I thought I was going to be the more skilled fighter in there. I knew it was going to be tough. I think a big thing for me is everybody always tells me how tough my opponents are going to be. But, and I fought some tough competition, but so far I've been the toughest. I knew third round was going to be deep water with this guy. But when we both dug deep, my shots made a lot more damage. My defense was there for me until the end. I was blocking his shots. I wasn't eating them. Yeah, of course, I got hit sometimes into the body, and it cost me a lot of my cardio. It hurt my cardio a lot. But, when you play in the mud, you're going to get dirty. When you fight, you're going to get hit. The question is your defense good enough to get you out of the big trouble? Your footwork gets you out of the trouble. Your wrestling gets you out of trouble. Especially when you fight a boxer that wants to bang all the time, you can't just play their game. And I played my game. I was, I think, tough in there. No matter how much they were saying, Rafa is tough. He's so tough. Yeah, he's tough, but I hurt him, and he was shooting for my legs, and not the other way around. Mike Breeden is tough, but I was hurting him. I almost finished him a few times. When I was under fire, look how I acted. When he was under fire, he broke down way more than I did. So I think so far I'm the toughest son of a bitch.
Yeah, man. Love that. So you were obviously just in a 15-minute fight, man. How does your body feel? How does your mind feel after the fight?
My body's not too bad. I've had, this is maybe one of the fights I got hit the most in my life.
Right.
But it's still just some bruises around the nose, the eyebrows, you get hit. Jaw hurts a little bit chewing. Ribs hurt a little bit, but overall I'm not injured. I'm healthy, and I'll be back in the gym very soon.
Great. Is there anything you want next? Anything or anyone in particular you would like next?
No, not anything or anyone in particular. I would like to fight soon. Not next month soon, but 3 to 4 months max would be great. I just want to go home for a couple of weeks, see my family, come back and start a camp. Maybe even September in Paris could be cool, or Vegas. August, September, I think would be good.
Yeah. So you spoke before about the confidence, right? It's something that it takes time to build up. I asked you previously as well, when did you feel you were ready? At what point in time did you feel you were ready to compete in the UFC? Now I'm going to ask you, now that you're in the UFC, at what point do you feel that you're going to be ready to start competing with some of the ranked guys in your division?
I think there's a question of confidence and also a question of self-awareness. Both are important. So I have my confidence, but also I'm aware that I still lack some experience. I'm still young in my MMA career. I only have 8 pro fights. Some of these guys have 30 pro fights. So I think
Not much damage.
the right thing, the right thing is to keep building that experience, that confidence, and getting some wins, getting paid. So I definitely see myself competing with the ranked guys in the near future. But right now I'm not ranked. I have 1 win in the UFC. I think it's fair to match me up with other people who have 1 or 2 fights in the UFC, maybe 3, 4. I think that's my area code right now. And, when I climb the ladder and get higher, I'm going to fight higher guys. But right now, with where I'm at, I don't need to be fighting top-ranked guys. I need to be fighting guys on my level, beating them, and climbing the ladder.
Yeah, that makes perfect sense. I think that's very smart and it's a very safe approach that you're taking. So credit to you. What do you think about the division? What do you think about the lightweight division? It's obviously one of the best divisions in all of mixed martial arts, right? Any promotion across the world. What's your take on the landscape? Obviously, there's a big fight this Saturday.
The landscape is it's packed. It's a bunch of animals, to be honest. These guys, great fighters. I respect them a lot. A bunch of talents. Like I said, animals, great athletes. So it's really it's cool to be a part of this division. I'm in the most stacked weight class in the world. On one side, it's scary. It's there's a really high bar. You gotta perform. You gotta keep improving if you want to compete with these guys. You gotta improve nonstop. But it's a positive as well because hey, I'm a UFC lightweight. I'm one of the baddest motherfuckers there are.
Yeah, definitely. So let me ask you this: is it true that you read Harry Potter before every fight, or you watch the movie rather?
No, I watch
the movie. Yes.
I watch. Not always. Some. I just like watching movies that I've seen. I'm not like the night before the fight. I'm not gonna watch some new movie. I'm gonna watch something comforting that I've watched before. I know what to expect, and a lot of times I choose to watch a Harry Potter movie, or just something something nice, comforting, and chill.
It says you saw the Deathly Hallows 2 before your last fight, right? So that means you can't watch another Harry Potter. You're done, right?
No, I think I watched the one with the goblet.
Ah, okay.
Goblet of Fire.
Okay, so you're good.
Fire,
you're good. I must have misread that. Yeah,
sounds good. I still got a few more movies.
Okay, so you're good. All right, never mind. I almost panicked there for you. All right, man. Thank you so much for joining us. Best of luck, and we'll be rooting for you in the future, man.
Absolutely. Thank you very much for having me.